What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Black Side of Liberty. It's your man, Governor Wildstar. Hey, and welcome everyone to this very special episode with an incredible guest who thankfully was just able to jump in here because I thought I was going to have to ramble again because last time I invited him on the show, he unfortunately wasn't able to make it due to schedule conflicts. But he is here this time, and I'll be introducing him to you shortly. I just want to really quickly inform you guys, of course, all of you that are watching, to please definitely subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so you can make sure that you are getting notifications for any upcoming videos. I got a lot planned in the future, not only more Black Side of Liberty videos, but more videos of me attending protests and other shenanigans and shit. So definitely be sure to subscribe. I would appreciate it. The numbers are definitely growing. I appreciate all of you for helping spread the word. I'm almost at that goal of 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. So all of you out there watching, if you haven't subscribed yet, do so now, especially if you're enjoying the show. And if any time, of course, just hit subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, be sure to like my Governor Wildstar page, which you can find on my website, governorwildstar.com. So head on over to governorwildstar.com, click on any of those social media icons, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Help me reach my goal of 5,000 on my social media accounts because, like I said, we definitely need to continue to connect as people involved with this liberty movement. We can't be reliant on the powers that be to keep us informed. And I'm doing my best to make sure that I'm speaking up for the underground, for the underrepresented, for the ignored people of the community. So please make sure that you are connected with me and helping me grow. Black Side of Liberty is a Black-owned business. So if you'd like to donate and help me keep things going, please be sure to click on donate as well and help spread the word. And of course, if you are watching like my man Anthony right here, hold on, who says, let's go. Please be sure to drop a comment or question during the show. And I will post it right here for you for all the world to see. But anyways, with no further ado, I want to introduce to you my incredible guest because I know his time is very limited and I want to be respectful of that. So with no further ado, I want to introduce to you all, ladies and gentlemen, the Libertarian Vice Presidential Candidate of the United States of America, Spike Cohen. There he is right there. What's up, Spike?
Hey, Governor Wildstar. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, brother. Welcome to the Black Side of Liberty. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for rescheduling me. So folks, last time that we were on, we had a major last minute conflict that made me have to reschedule everything that was happening that day. And for whatever reason, we accidentally did not get to Governor Wildstar for him to know that we were actually not able to do it. So I greatly apologize for that. And I am thankful that you gave me a reprieve and allowed me to come on and actually make it this time. So thank you.
Hey, like I said, man, I appreciate you carving time out of your schedule to actually be here. I'm not the Don Lemon Show or, any of these other famed celebrities. But like I said, I am doing my best to make sure that I am a spokesman for those people out there that are watching that aren't on the right, aren't on the left, right here stuck in the middle with you and me, and want to hear some people speak up for once. But thank you again for being here. I just want to confirm that the information I got on the screen here is correct. You got a link tree where people can find all of your information, which is right here, linktr.ee/Spike Cohen, right?
That's
where you can find. What's that?
Yeah, that is correct. I was double checking because I knew I had a link tree, but I wasn't sure it was that. So yeah, no, that is correct. That
no problem, man. I do my homework just a little bit.
Yeah, no, you did good. You knew it better than me. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I got that information down, and Spike Cohen I did give you the title of vice presidential candidate of the United States of America, in which people out there can Google and find out more about you, to find out more about your past, etc. But since they got you right here, right now, if you could just tell the people out there, who the hell is Spike Cohen?
Who the hell is Spike Cohen? That's probably the biggest question right now. Who the hell is Spike Cohen? Folks, I am Spike Cohen, and I am running for vice president along with my running mate, Joe Jorgensen, with the Libertarian Party. A little bit about myself. I'm a small business owner, have been for over 20 years. I started a web design company right before I turned 17 back in 1999, and I grew that into a pretty successful company. I was able to retire from that 3 years ago so that I could focus my life full time on my real passion, which was spreading the message of liberty to the public, which often hasn't heard our ideas. And after doing that, resulted in my becoming the host of My Fellow Americans, the co-host of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, and the co-owner of Muddy Waters Media, which I am to this day. And in talking with people from all different walks of life and using entertainment to spread a message of liberty to the greater body politic, what I discovered was that people wanted change. People were disgusted with the options that they had. People didn't know that there was a different option, not just between the Republican parties, but also in a completely different way of looking at how things should be organized, how people should interact with each other, what our relationship should be with government. And to that end, I decided that we needed another voice. We needed more people in the Libertarian Party who were reaching out outside of our traditional libertarian circles. And to that end, I ran for the Libertarian nomination for vice president. And I did so demonstrating how I would be campaigning moving forward. So I went to college campuses, I went to housing projects, I went around the country to talk to people of all different walks of life and to share the message of liberty. And on the success and strength of what I did, they chose me as their candidate. And now I'm doing that. It's everything that I was doing before on overdrive. We are going around the country. I'm about to start a 20-state tour to talk to people of all different walks of life across this country, to talk to them about how the problems that they are facing are the result of bad policies from the Republicans and Democrats and their exclusive control of every lever of power of government for over 160 years, and how our common sense libertarian solutions and the libertarian solutions of people like Governor Wildstar and everyone else who's running on the libertarian ticket are the solutions to the problems that they've created.
I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of people really don't know that there is another choice, and they are educated on the political system enough to know that there are other parties. And of course, when it comes to them voting, that when they go to vote, there are other people on the ballot. You just hear about two candidates in the media or, during these debates or whatever. But when you actually go to vote in the voting booths, there's tons of candidates there, and people forget that. And it's like, you have to break that cycle with education. So someone like you going out there that's, again, speaking on libertarian principles and values and letting them know that, hey, it's a party that actually is running on this philosophy of, hey, do as you please, as you want to do, as long as you don't hurt anybody. Then we can, I guess, find a common ground, find a middle ground. That's what I was saying about, the extremists on the leftists and the right wing or whatever the case may be. But I guess when it, like you said, you did run for VP on a libertarian ticket. The libertarians kind of rock their shit different than the Republicans or Democrats. Because, the Republican nominee or whatever and Democratic nominee for presidents, they get to choose their vice presidential candidates versus the Libertarian Party. We actually choose them, the delegates and members of the party. So with that being said, you were actually teamed up with someone else, not Dr. Joe Jorgensen, who is the nominated vice presidential candidate, but Vermin Supreme, someone who people definitely probably know of as the guy with the boot on his head, who ran
free ponies for everyone.
Yeah, so you were running with him, and I spoke with Dr. Jorgensen this week, actually, believe it or not, and I let her know that actually when I met her in person, she didn't really strike me as someone that's outgoing and is like the kiss the baby politician type of person, who typically run for office when it's a popularity contest, somewhat. But you were running with, again, Vermin Supreme, this, rock star politician guy or whatever the hell he is. He's an icon. And people would have thought he would have sold it up, but he didn't. So now you teamed up with her, and you're kind of like an amped up degree of, I guess, that energy needed, that spark to attract people to come and vote for you as a person. So with her and you being these two dynamics coming together and having to, I guess, come up with some synergy to, in order, again, attract people to vote libertarian, you feel like this libertarian ticket is the dream ticket, that, I guess, the dream team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe that the delegates chose well. So like Nicholas said, we the way we choose things is we pick a presidential candidate, and then the following day we pick a vice presidential candidate. And the libertarian delegates saw fit to pair Joe and I together. And I think that they made a good choice. I think that they chose well. Our policies are largely the same. There's very little to almost nothing that Joe and I disagree on from a policy standpoint. The differences between us are the manner in which we are talking to the voters and the voters that we most appeal to. And there's a lot of overlap there. Our message appeals to everyone across the spectrum. But Joe's style of delivery tends to be more favorable for people who are seeing chaos around the country and who want to see a return to normalcy and to a return to a sense of decency in the White House. And I'm speaking to a generation and demographic of people who are ready to burn all this down and start from scratch. They're ready to completely burn this down. And I'm essentially talking them off the ledge and saying, hey, listen, we get where you're coming from. This whole thing needs to go. It don't have to be that way. We can actually fix these problems without having to resort to a much more violent and destructive way of doing so. But we're speaking to people that, for example, say things like, I don't care that this community is burning down because we don't own any of it. This wasn't made for us. This system wasn't made for us. This college system and the student loans that I have stacking up, even though I'm not able to find a job in the field, my chosen field of work, none of this was built for me. It was built for incredibly powerful and cynical and hateful people who have bought and paid for politicians to be in place to push their policies against all of us, to continuously take from us, from our power, from our wealth, and from our freedoms, and to give it to them, even though a very small relative handful of people already own the majority of wealth and power in this country. That's not enough for them. They want more and more and more, and they want to take it from us, and we're ready to burn it down. And I'm here saying, hey, listen, whoa, we don't have to burn it down. We can just dismantle those oppressive systems and give you the power back where it always belonged.
But we see that happening. This kind of like breakdown of society happening right before our eyes, and especially with these protests and civil unrest that have been happening since the George Floyd killing. And not only that, but before that, the reopen protests that were happening, demanding that, we go ahead and continue life as usual before this whole coronavirus lockdown pandemic panic began back in April or March or whenever the hell.
Back March, April,
forever now. But anyways, so we see this happening now, where people are kind of hitting the streets, and the government's response, even though you have people such as yourself saying, you shouldn't be responding violence with violence, the government's response is actually more violence. They're sending out federal soldiers to forcefully, tell people to go home and stop peacefully protesting, since that's what they're out there doing. And you have the president say, I'll send these federal soldiers out to Portland, out to Baltimore, out to, Chicago and New York, and wherever the case may be, wherever they're needed. And it's crazy that, again, we see this happening. But the AG Barr, Attorney General, in his Senate hearing recently, called protesters and reporters adversaries. So it's dangerous language that's being used right now to make we, the people of the public, the actual enemy, domestic terrorists. We can all fit under that category. So do you think that federal agents are ever necessary in America to be used.
Well, let's be clear. When you're talking about the harmful language, Malcolm X said that if you didn't watch yourself, you'd end up being made to hate the people that are being oppressed and to love your oppressors. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing government and their paid for crony media, corporate media. Keep in mind, when you're watching media, both the local and national news is owned by like 6 multinational corporations that have a vested interest in keeping the status quo in place. And anything that threatens it has to be labeled an enemy of the public. So let's be very clear that these are things that have been warned about decades before some of us were even born. And we're seeing it play out in real time. Let's be clear on why these protests are even happening in the first place. It wasn't just George Floyd. It wasn't just Breonna Taylor. It wasn't just Ahmaud Arbery. It wasn't just every other one that's happened. This is a result of centuries, and I would argue, or decades, and I would argue centuries of a system of systemic abuses that have happened to all of us, but especially among people of color and other marginalized communities that have once again come to a boil where the people have said enough already. We're not going to take this anymore. Now, these started as largely peaceful and unarmed protests. Keyword there, unarmed. How did law enforcement respond to these peaceful, unarmed protests? They did 2 things. They cordoned off these protests into small areas of the various cities that they had them. And the very second they broke curfew or did anything even minor, they unleashed tear gas and pepper balls on them. They tased people. They rounded up people. They held them, suspended their habeas corpus rights, held them indefinitely without any charge. Some of them are still being held weeks later as a result without any charge. Clear violation of the Constitution, and it's happening. And the reason they were able to do this is because they weren't armed. Okay, now we see new protests. I was just in Columbus, Ohio. A couple weeks before, they had protests. A bunch of people were tear gassed. A bunch of people were arrested. A bunch of people were tased and harmed and everything else. The next week, the Boogaloo Boys were there. Guess what didn't happen? None of that tasing happened. None of that tear gassing happened. The people showed up. They protested. They went home. Everything was fine. Guess what's happened at these protests where Black Panthers and the NFAC have showed up? There was no tear gassing. Police don't want to bring tear gas to a gunfight. No one does. So that is what happens when you're armed versus when you're unarmed. And that happens regardless of your color. Same thing with these lockdown protests. Most of them were armed, or a good number of them were armed. Guess what didn't happen to them?
But that's the thing, is you actually have an argument from people on, let's say, far right, who are actually, believe it or not, pro-2A, but feel like that these secret soldiers are necessary in order to silence the voices of these Black Lives Matter Antifa protesters that they feel like are getting out of control.
Well, and the reason they're doing that is because they're being fed all the looting and rioting that's happened. But let's be clear about why the looting and rioting happened. While the police cordoned off all of their resources into brutalizing peaceful, unarmed protesters, they left the entire rest of these cities unpoliced. And long ago, they already took away the people in those areas' ability to fight back, in most cases with gun control and other laws that make it difficult for them to fight back without the police being involved. And they basically signaled to a bunch of looters and rioters, most of whom have no ties to Black Lives Matter or anything else. They just saw an opportunity. I saw pictures of people going in and grabbing Lego sets. This has nothing to do with police brutality or revolution or anything else. They saw an opportunity and they took it. And now law enforcement and the government are using this as an opportunity to say, see what happened? They're protesting us, and now they've taken over the streets. We need even more police, and we need to be even more militarized, and we need to have even more money and power and resources, and we need to be able to infringe even further on the lives and rights and properties of anyone who would speak out against us. It's almost like they did it intentionally.
Yeah, it seems like from talking to you, you have a better understanding of the inner workings and underlying, I guess, issues that created the circumstances that we're currently now in, more than government officials themselves.
I would argue that the government officials know full well what they're doing, but but I get what you're saying. They certainly won't say it.
Yeah, of course. I'm talking about with playing to the public's sentiment to make it seem like that they actually care and understand, and then they paint Black Lives Matter on streets, and it doesn't really change any damn thing. It's all just virtue signaling, and you see it happening, but it's awful. But you did bring up something very very poignant, which is that when these protesters actually started to I guess, go out there and be armed, that you started to see less of a police presence, less use of violence against these peaceful protesters.
Imagine that.
Boogaloo Boys.
Yeah.
And now the internet has actually made a move, or the government or powers that be, or whatever the case may be, to silence them. If you go on Instagram, look up the hashtag Boogaloo Boys, it's gone. If you look up Boogaloo, it's gone. It's like they are censoring, and we see more censoring happening over this coronavirus thing. Doctors that are speaking out against the narrative, etc. And even the Boogaloo movement themselves, like I was saying, had to go through this rebranding where now they're calling themselves
the CNN Boys,
calling themselves after major media outlets to kind of use that to troll along and get their message out there.
Right.
You also have FOSTA, CISPA, COSTA, all of these government bills that have changed the way the internet is right now. You said that you had an internet, web design company, So with what you see happening right now with the internet and government making its move to control the internet, do you think that the government should be censoring the internet, and do you think it should be censored in general?
No, I think the government should stay completely out of it. And not just in that they shouldn't be censoring it, but they need to remove the regulations that are making it so that a small handful of corporations increasingly control the internet. We get focused on, and not just on this subject, but in subjects in general, we tend to focus on the end result of something and say that's the problem instead of looking at the root cause. Perfect example. We see where Facebook and Google and Twitter and a handful of other companies are able to control the entire conversation. And we go, that's the problem. We need to end them censoring us. We need to have the government go in and tell them that they can't censor us anymore. Well, that's actually not the problem. Those are private industries, private entities that are deciding on their private platforms what is or is not allowed. And to that extent, it's not largely different than any of us saying in our homes and businesses what is or is not allowed there. That's not the problem. The problem is that there's only a few of them that are able to compete in this market in the first place because of the barriers and burdens and mandates and taxes and licensing requirements and everything else that various state and the federal government have put in place in order to make them the only outlets that are able to actually afford to be a venue. The problem isn't that Facebook is censoring you. The problem is that you don't have 1,000 other options to choose from if you don't like how Facebook is censoring you. That is the real problem. And what we're falling into often is by saying, well, the government needs to tell them they can't censor our opinions anymore. The last thing you want is for government to be the one deciding what you are or are not allowed to say on the internet, especially if they come in saying, oh, we're just making sure everyone's voice is heard. No, the hell they aren't. They're making sure that Republicans and Democrats are heard, and that is it. They do not want libertarians to be heard. They do not want independents to be heard. They certainly don't want anyone who is exposing the government's lies to be heard. What you want is the opposite. You want even less government involvement. You want an end to, the barriers and burdens that have been put in place that make it harder and harder for tech entrepreneurs to create the next Facebook, the next YouTube, the next Google, the next Twitter, the next Instagram, the next TikTok, the next whatever. That is how you get freedom of speech.
And speaking of TikTok, it's crazy because you actually have those same Trump supporters that are saying, get rid of TikTok. They're spying on us. And now that Trump turns some interest towards it as a valuable commodity, a hot, what did he call it? A hot deal or hot label or hot brand, something like that.
Yeah.
And wants a chunk of it. So he's pretty much in the middle of having it be sold to Microsoft. I don't even know if the company wanted to sell to begin with, but
they didn't.
Forcing them to sell a business to Microsoft, and now you got those same people on the right saying that it's okay now that Trump is in control of it. And it's like, wait, there's one key issue here: the spying part is okay if it's not a tool that's being used by China to spy on us. It's going to be used by the American government now to spy on us. And instead of it being in the hands of a private company, you have, again, government being involved, facilitating sales between private industries, private sellers, over a commodity, over platform that we, the people, use freely.
Yeah, you have the government telling a private company, because they're not owned, there's so much propaganda about TikTok, okay? TikTok, by the way, follow me on TikTok at literally Spike Cohen. But you can't. They've said that this is owned by the Chinese government. No, it isn't. It is owned by a private Chinese company whose servers are outside of China. And in fact, it's actually a U.S. affiliate of that company. So they are no more or less prone to Chinese spying than any other company that has their information on a server outside of China. Yes. Can they be spied on by China? Yes. And so can Facebook, and so can YouTube, and so can Google, and so can anyone else. So can any other website. So can GoDaddy. All of them can be spied on by China and everyone else. There is nothing special about TikTok. There were two reasons why Donald Trump wanted to do this with TikTok. Number one, they embarrassed him because it was the K-pop kids on TikTok that bought up all the free tickets for his rally and embarrassed him so that like next to no one showed up. And then number two, the reason that he did it was because so that way he could pressure them into selling it to Bill Gates. The people that conservatives right now are saying are, enacting Agenda 21 and trying to, make us all infertile and end the population. But it's okay if Donald Trump forces private companies to sell to him.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And there'll be a company that probably, again, put in measures that would prevent more people from speaking out that disagree with their agenda or,
of course,
their status quo, whatever. But it's sad to see this happening because more people are, again, just giving up their freedoms and liberties willingly, thinking that government has their best intentions at heart. When they know historically, of course, they haven't ever really shown that.
Ever.
So
ever.
With that in mind, I mean, people have this mindset that things will change, of course. But who's going to change things? And I appreciate you for letting people know about my activism. And you and I kind of have a lot in common. We've turned our activism, our political activism, into actual political action by being candidates ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I decree the term millennial, because it makes us people of our age group seem like we're some irresponsible kids who need to be told what the hell to do. I got a family. I got a wife that I've been married to for damn near 10 years. Yep. I got a son who's almost 1. And my father even uses the term millennials to, downplay, again, people of our age group.
Right.
The same man who turned around and told me that I'm a better father to my child than he has been to me. So, that should say a lot, as far as maturity goes.
It's almost as though we shouldn't lump people into collectives.
Hey, you would think so. But again, this label has been applied to us. You openly embrace it and let people know, hey, I'm a young guy. I'm excited about change. I'm out here. I'm running for vice president of the United States. Right. And you've been propelled, in a sense, to achieve that in many ways. You're also married to a Black woman, and you're Jewish, and you're white. You're a clean-cut looking guy. And so when it comes to, I guess, the image of who's going to save us, are you or why aren't you just another white savior?
Well, that's an excellent question, actually. And that's why I'd make a point of not trying to do hey, guys, I'm Jewish and my wife's Black, because I find it cringy. I cringe at the idea of using the identity of my wife or even of myself as some kind of token representation and say, well, you can trust me because of this. I certainly am not selling myself as any kind of savior. Here is what I propose. I propose giving you your power back so that you and your communities, all of us, and when I say your community, I don't just mean people of your color or your ethnicity or your religion or your income level or whatever, your community, where you live, which is probably, if you're like most Americans, a fairly diverse community. You and your loved ones and your neighborhoods and your communities can save yourselves and we can end the harm that is being imposed upon you. So much of what we have that's going on has been sold to us as just a reality of life. Taxes are just a reality of life. Oppression and disparate outcomes as a result of oppression are just a reality of life. Inflation and increases in the cost of living, that's just life. Nothing you can do about it. No. These are artificial systems that have been created by incredibly powerful, cynical people who lie to you every single day for no other reason than to keep you in a system, in a lifestyle of desperation and of anxiety and of reliance and of fear and of resentment. They do it intentionally so that you need them, so that you cannot do for yourself. I'm not here to save you. I'm here to undo the harm and put the power back in your hands. Joe Jorgensen and I are not running to fix your problems. Joe Jorgensen and I are running to stop the harm and to give you the power back so that you can fix your own problems and so that the problems aren't being imposed upon you in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and that's where a lot of people kind of get lost in the libertarian message because they're so used to government saying what they're going to do for them.
Yes.
Instead of being told, hey, well, you have all of the power, all of the means, all of the resources to do it for yourself. And I mean, believe it or not, the white savior thing is actually more welcomed and more thanked by white people because they see it as being like this. One is going to come in and save the Black community, and because I guess that's what they feel like they should do is
man's burden.
Help us minorities since we can't help ourselves.
This actually comes from a long-term narrative called the white man's burden. So one of the if you look back at the colonial era, both in the U.S., the post-European colonial area where the U.S. basically took over as the colonial power, and then in Europe as well, there was this narrative called the white man's burden. And basically what the white man's burden is, we have to take over the world and show these lowly people how they can live because they certainly sure as hell can't do for themselves. Look at them. They're a bunch of stupid savages. And if we don't step in and help them to learn how to be civilized and to live something like how we do, nice civilized white people, they're just going to continue to squander and live in squalor and disease and everything else. And the reality was they were the ones creating those conditions for them that they were living in that in the first place. But that's not what they told people. They told people that they were inferior and that the reason that they were inferior was because of their race and their ethnicity, and that we as the superior people had to fix them. That legacy of the white man's burden lives on today, except now it lives in things like the bigotry of low expectations. It lives on today in the idea of racial quotas. It lives on today in the and I hate to do this, but we have gone from Black power, which was people saying, we don't care what white people think, we want our power back because we have power in ourselves and we believe in Black excellence, to Black Lives Matter, which in many circles is an appeal to white people to acknowledge that Black people's lives matter. That is how far we have fallen. Even though there has been progress in some ways, in other ways socially, it's actually gone backwards, where we've gone from and I'm saying we meaning Black people, that Black people have power, that Black people should be powerful, to saying just say we matter. Mm-hmm. So, and this is part of that white savior complex. And it is part of that whole white man's burden. So no, I am not here to say, I know what Black people need and by golly, I'm going to give it to them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we all recognize the history of why communities of color and other marginalized communities are in the situation they are. They are because of a intentional, institutionalized, and systemic series of policies that were expressly created with the idea of keeping these communities down, as well as keeping everyone else down, but especially keeping those communities down, and that we simply dismantle those systems and give the power back to the people so that they can do the things they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, right now, more than ever, we need, I guess, someone to speak up and kind of remind us, us all, and I'm speaking of the community of Americans, you know, of what really unites us. And it's all of these divisive labels and ideologies, including Black Lives Matter, as much as, you know, I agree with the movement and, you know, us Black people having to be recognized as human beings simply is kind of unnecessary. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, you have the Black Lives Matter organization, which is benefiting, you know, extremely off of Black suffering, and which is another issue that's happened, which is, you know, for another time, basically. But
Booker T. Washington talked about it. Booker T. Washington talked about those who had a direct, and I'm not accusing all Black Lives Matter people of this, but there are certainly those who are of various colors who would love nothing more than for this problem to continue getting worse, so that they can profit off of the basically the victimization of people of color. I mean, Booker warned about that 100+ years ago. So
yeah, absolutely, and Malcolm X said the white liberal, be careful as well as that media machine, because they are not your friend. They could definitely turn your friend into your enemy, and they can divide us as a people and have us fighting among each other. So it's sad that we kind of see this happening, but. I really appreciate you being on the show, Mike, or pardon me, Spike, because I ask a whole bunch of crazy ass questions and no one really knows what the hell I'm going to ask. So
no, I like them. I'm liking these questions, man. I'm liking them.
So I do have one more before I let you go.
Sure.
And it may seem like I'm putting you in the corner with this question right here, since it is a kind of little touchy, I guess. But for those people out there, I think that we as a society, in order to get over our ills, need to go through this catharsis in order to heal.
Okay.
And we can do that in many ways. We can do that through art. We can do that through mediums such as this, where we're having conversations and just getting out all of our ideas, including those stereotypes that we tend to, I guess, have in the back of our heads. So, with you being married to a Black woman, I know you've probably been asked this before, brother. I gotta ask you now.
Okay.
True or false? Once you go Black, you never turn back.
Oh, unequivocally. Yeah, no. No, it's not. There's nothing. It's not. She's not getting rid of me ever. No. No.
I was about to say, I know it probably seems like a setup question. Your wife is like, you better answer that.
There's only one correct answer to that, but no, definitely, it is, for good or for ill. I'm not going back ever.
All right, that's good to know. Well, hey, the one thing about love is, I think whether it's Black or white or brown or whatever the case may be, blue, since those are now lives now. Love is love, straight up. And we need to just kind of recognize that as Americans, like you said, this kind of burden that we've put on ourselves, white, Black, or whatever, is that we haven't allowed love to be the cure-all to our problems. We kind of downplay it, we underestimate it, and then we victimize those people that promote love, such as Martin Luther King, who says, love can conquer all. And was this peaceful protester, but, during the time when he was around, was demonized, victimized.
They called him a Marxist too.
Exactly. Yeah. And then after he died, there were riots, believe it or not. The people forget all of this shit. But it was civil unrest. It's a matter of us coming together in the name of love. And I believe it could definitely happen. People such as you could definitely be a wonderful example of that. And I definitely hope you have an opportunity to get in office and be a representative for we the people, so you can show us all kind of how it's done.
Thank you. It means a lot to me. And we're fighting for you too, man. Once this is, because you're in 2022, right?
Yes, I
am. So once this election is over, we're pivoting straight to getting everyone in the midterms, and that's going to include you. I'm definitely going to be over on your end of the country, fighting for you to be the next governor. So.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Well, hey, we do have a recall effort going on here in California right now. So nice. Maybe the Libertarian Party on the national level could be involved in that, because
I'm with it. Let's do it.
What Gavin Newsom is doing here to the people of California is awful.
He needs to go. He needs to go.
And it's sad, because what's happening is the media is kind of using the recall effort to say, oh, it's a right-wing thing. And, they don't really want to let the majority of the public know about it. But the Libertarian Party of California is behind that recall effort also. You are watching out there. We want to get you people out there that are, dedicated to the Democratic Party to, you know, get behind this recall effort also. So look into Spike Cohen. If you haven't been convinced about voting for him for for vice president of the United States of America, then like I said, please head on over to his information, find out more about him and the Jorgensen Cohen campaign, because we need your support. Let them know, Spike. We need their support right now.
We definitely need your support. If you like what you heard, go to Joe20. That's JO20.com. That's our website. If you're able to make a contribution, that would be great. Even better, if you can join our team. Come sign up and join our sign up to our volunteer form. We'd love to have you join our team. Join your local and state libertarian affiliates. That's where the fight is happening. The grassroots army for human liberty, fighting for a world set free in our time, is happening in your town, in your county, in your state. Not just for me and for Joe, but for people like Nicholas and like people across the country who are running as libertarians and who, more importantly, are pushing a message, an unabashed message of setting people and markets free so that we can live much more freer and safer and healthier lives as a result of getting the government off of our backs and getting these dismantling these oppressive and infringing structures so that we can live together as a human family. And I appreciate your support. Thank you for having me on.
Man, God bless you, man. I definitely wish you and Joe all of the best. And like I told Joe, I will be voting for the Jorgensen's Cohen ticket come November. And I'm hoping that everybody out there watching was convinced by my man right here, Spike Cohen, to definitely vote for him for vice president of the United States right now. If wherever you are, if you haven't had your primary yet, then please definitely vote for him. Vote for Dr. Joe Jorgensen and find out more about him. Spike, I appreciate you again for being right here on the Black Side of Liberty, my man. You definitely got to come back soon.
Oh, I can't wait to come back on. I can't wait to meet you in person. We're working our way on the West Coast on this bus tour, so I hope to see you soon.
All right. Absolutely. We will make a date, brother.
Sounds good, man. Have a great night. Thank you for having me on.
You got it. Much love to you, and you take care. Peace.
Absolutely. Bye.
All right, you guys, you heard it here. That again was Spike Cohen, vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party of the United States of America. So please be sure to vote for him. Vote for Dr. Joe Jorgensen. Like I said, if you haven't had your state primary yet, you have an opportunity to vote right here, right now, and vote Libertarian, vote for Dr. Jorgensen so you can help other candidates that are in the states, wherever they are, have an opportunity to get on the ballot. They have to petition each year to get signatures enough to get on the ballot. We want to prevent that from happening by getting them a better percentile. How can we do that? Just go out and vote. Fuck Trump, fuck Biden. They got enough supporters. Vote for the Libertarian ticket. Help out the Libertarians nationwide, okay? So please definitely, like I said, vote Libertarian. I appreciate that. Thomas Stewart says he impresses me more every time I listen to him. Yes, if you liked what Spike said, please find out more about him. Just Google the man, okay? And he has his own podcast on YouTube as well. Check out his podcast as well. I'm pretty sure you guys will be very impressed with more he has to say. Enough to, like I said, vote Libertarian. Please vote for Spike Cohen and Dr. Joe Jorgensen. So everybody out there that was watching, I appreciate you for dropping comments during the broadcast. Jeremy, Brian, Thomas, Justice, Selena, Jacob, Drama Alerts, Anthony, much love to all of you. If I didn't get a chance to drop any of your comments or questions, please be sure to tune into the next episode. But if you didn't, like I said, come back next time. Let's talk. But as I was mentioning to Spike, I am going to be running for governor of California. I have formed an exploratory committee for governor of California in 2022. If you didn't know, I did run for governor of California in 2018 and in 2014. And I would love to make my third time the charm, okay? So we the people can do it in 2022, if not sooner, with this recall effort that's going on. So head on over to crowdpack.com/C/Wildstar 4 Gov, and please make any contribution to my campaign as possible. campaigning is expensive, and I would love to hit my fundraising goal of $10,000 to cover the bare minimum, which is like filing fees and, you know, making sure that I got lawn signs and bumper stickers and all that shit in the website. So I need to cover those costs. I need you to help me in doing so. So please, like I said, head on over to my Crowd Pack, which is a crowdfunding for politicians website. Head over to crowdpack.com and make your contribution today. And like I said, with this recall effort, we do have the We Have Rights rally that is coming up.